Hello, and welcome back to the web design class. So this is the second video that I'm posting on Wednesday, April 1st. The first one kind of told you what we were doing today as far as like looking at everybody's websites and giving your feedback in the forum. And this one is going to finish up with the CSS tutorial I started on Monday in that video to give you some examples of the CSS that you need to know, and also a study guide that you can use to do the take-home test. Okay, so over at w3schools.com, I've moved forward in my tutorial to what's called the CSS color section. You can head over there if you want and follow this along with me. And here's my document that I made so far. I'll go ahead and click at the bottom of this, and I'll scroll this up a little bit so we can see the code a little easier, and click down here. Okay, so when talking about CSS colors, we already talked about the fact that they've added a bunch of super cool color names to the colors. It used to be that you just had blue, red, orange, things like that. But now you've got tomato and Dodger blue and medium sea green and all these cool colors that you can add in. Now, one of the things that you need to know is that colors can be added using predefined color names like these down below, or using their red, green, blue corresponding numbers, but also using something called hex code, which of course is the pound sign and then a series of numbers and letters. HLS, which is hue, saturation, and lightness. RGBA, which is red, green, blue, plus an alpha channel, which means transparency, so that will give you semi-transparent colors. And then hue, saturation, and lightness with the A or the alpha channel, which gives you transparency there as well. So, here's some examples of the different colors. If we want to, we can click here and see the 140 standard color names, right? And there they are. Very cool. It gives you a very wide palette to choose from, all the different colors that you can use. Okay, so down here, they talk about using background colors. They say you can set the background color for HTML elements. And for example, they've got an H1 tag here, which is the hello world. And it's styled with a background color of Dodger blue. So if we want to try that ourselves, we can put an H1 tag in down here. Of course, Dreamweaver is going to close that off for us. We can type in hello world, right? And then we can come in here inside the H1 tag and we can put some, once again, what's called inline style. So we write the word style. And we can say background dash color equals, now I'm going to put an M in here. I want to get to medium sea green. Notice that if you just put a single letter in there, the code hints, which is this area right here, will scroll down to the M's, and then you can just pick whatever you want. So here's medium sea green. It looks like I screwed up here. Let's see. No, I actually got that right. Okay. Style equals background, quote, background dash color, colon, medium sea green, semicolon is what I need to put in there. And then I click up here in the white, and you can see there's my hello world. Interesting that it made the oh, I see, the text is still green because I told it up higher that I wanted all my text to be green. I thought maybe it made everything green, but that's not the case. In fact, if I wanted to, I can make this text white, and the way I would do that is I would put in the word color, which means text color, and of course I could just put white and a semicolon, and there it is. We have white text. We could also say, let's see if this will work, text align colon center, and there we go. Okay, so now we've got something that looks a little bit like that. Here is the same idea behind a whole paragraph. So it makes a box behind the paragraph, which is that color, right? So let's go ahead and try that ourselves as well. Go down here, put in a paragraph tag. and hit the enter button a few times so we've got some space to put our paragraph in. Now if we want to, we could probably copy their lorem ipsum text here, their Greek text, copy that, put it in here. There it is, and we can get rid of this extra spacing because we don't need it. And then of course we'll put in our same styles here. Style equals quote background dash color, and let's see, let me hit R. I want to see if there's any kind of rose. There's Rosy Brown. Ooh, I like Rebecca Purple. I like the name. Okay. Don't forget to put your semicolon in at the end of every style selector that you put in there. And then we go up here and let's see, what did I do wrong? Okay, so background dash color tomato. Background color Rebecca Purple semicolon. So this is what's so interesting is you know, HTML and CSS, they're supposed to behave a certain way, but they don't always. Sometimes it's your fault, actually, or my fault in this case. A lot of the time it is. There's something that was mistyped, right? So what we have to do is we have to look here, make sure everything's spelled correctly. So we've got a paragraph here, P style equals background color Rebecca Purple, right? And then we've got our lorem ipsum, and then we see this up here, but there's no purple behind it. So that's very strange. So I could try a couple of different things to troubleshoot this. And of course, troubleshooting is, oh, there we go. Well, actually, wait a minute. That's weird. It just did something weird for a second there. So I'm going to try troubleshooting a couple things. Okay, there it goes. Red worked. So for some bizarre reason, it didn't like Rebecca Purple, or maybe I just misspelled it. More than likely, it was a misspelling on my part. And of course, this is still the green text on top of there. So that's horrible and hard to see. So you could, once again, use color, which is text color, put in white, and then we've got something we can see in there, right? Okay, so we've been doing the CSS text color as we've been going through here, and this is what they're talking about now. The word color, it's hard to remember this, but the word color, it should have been called text color, refers to the text color. So anytime you put color and then a colon, that's going to be the color of your text, right? Okay, now another thing that you can do is you can set the color of borders around things. So if you wanted to have some text that has a border, you could do that and you can make it a specific color. So let's go down here and let's type one of these examples here. So once again, we're going to make an H1 style. So we say H1 style equals border colon 2px solid. We'll go ahead and use their tomato color and put the semicolon and end the quote there. Notice I made a little error here. I make errors all the time, just like all of you guys. And you just have to fix them, right? And then, of course, you close your bracket there, and it puts the closing bracket there, and here we can get another hello world going. Okay, and let's see what this looks like. We click up here, scroll down. Sure enough, there's our hello world. Now, when you're doing a border, and of course you can do borders around text or pictures or really anything you want. You can have a border around absolutely nothing if you like, or even a section of your website, like a div. When you do a border, you have to specify 3 different attributes. You have to say how thick the border is. And so here we say it's 2 pixels thick. Pixels is easy to remember, right? You also have to say what color it is, in this case tomato, the red color. But then you also have to say what the line looks like. In this case, it's a solid line, right? And the reason is because there's different kinds of borders you can put on things. So for example, if I change this word solid to dashed, and then we clicked up here so that it would refresh, you see that now that is a dashed line, right? So that's kind of cool. You can put interesting things like that. And if you look in the code hints, you know, when you start typing border, it'll give you all the different options you can do for your borders, right? Now, I told you at the beginning of this that there were different ways that you could do colors, right? There's all these different ways. they mentioned up at the top, RGB, hex, all those different things. So so far what we use is just color names, right? And so this is where you can set the three different kinds here, besides the color names, are red, green, blue, hexadecimal code, and hue, saturation, and lightness, right? Now, red, green, blue, each of these numbers represents how much red, green, and blue is in the color, right? So here they've remixed the tomato color with the equivalents in RGB, hex, and HSL. So if we go down here and we want to redo, like let's say we want to redo this block of code here, this paragraph, we'll go ahead and paste it in down at the bottom, scroll up a bit. Okay, so this time instead of just using the word tomato for the background color, or I'm sorry, I used red here instead of tomato. Let's go ahead and put in the RGB equivalents, right? So what we're going to do is say style background color, and then we have to put in the word RGB right here, saying that we're entering the red, green, blue color space. We have to put in a pair of parentheses. And then we have to put how much of each color there is, indicated by a number, and then separated by a comma. Okay, and once again, I'm always making mistakes here, so don't feel bad if you make mistakes. Okay, so this isn't going to be exactly the same color as this because we just said red there, and for this one down here, we want tomato. You can see tomato is a lighter red, right? So that's tomato being indicated by RGB, right? Now let's go ahead and change it to the hexadecimal color, which is this one right here. Hexadecimal means 6, and there's a combination of 6 letters and numbers there with the pound sign in front of them. So here's another way that we can indicate a color. We go ahead and paste in the hex code, and we come up here, and sure enough, it still looks like tomato, right? And then finally, HSL, same thing as in fact, I'll just click my Command Z to go back to my RGB because it's easier format to change to HSL. I'll go ahead and put in HSL. I'll put in the 9, 100%, and 64, replacing these guys right here, 9. Interesting that they have percentages on those other two and not on the first one. I wonder if that's just an error or what. Anyway, let's look. 64, and then percent. Click up here. Looks the same, right? And what happens? I'm just curious. You know, it's worth investigating stuff like this. I'm curious what happens if we put a percent sign there. Wow, everything just went to hell. Okay, so obviously that first that H, which stands for hue, that needs to be a very specific number without the percentage sign, and these other two are some sort of way to mix the color itself. Saturation and lightness. So this is 100% saturated, and this is 64% lightness. That's what the HSL stands for. Okay, so now the two other color spaces that we talked about were these two, RGB and HSL, but with the A on them, on the end. And the A is a fourth number, and that represents transparency. And in this case, if you do 0.5, that means 50% transparent. So if we simply take this HSL that we have here, and we put a comma in, and we put 0.5, then what we should see up here is, well, the big nothing. Don't you love it when like absolutely nothing works? Okay. Now I gotta look and see if I hosed my code at any point, or if this is just a mistake by the browser or something. Now I can always try. Sometimes it's valuable to save and click in here again, and sometimes things will become nice. But oh, here's my issue right here. Once again, user error, right? I didn't change the HSL to HSLA, so it doesn't know what to do with that fourth number. So when I change that to A, yeah, there we go. And you can see that that's a lighter version of the tomato. It's 50% transparent. And of course, if we want to do the RGBA, we change these to RGB. We have to pick the numbers up here, 255, 99, and 71, and put them in here. So 255, 99 is going to replace this 100%, and a 71, 71, 71 right here. Okay, and then we can leave the 0.5 for the transparency, and of course this looks very similar to the other one. And they're showing you right here examples of all the stuff that we just typed. Okay, so we have, this is a very short video today because we talked about a lot of stuff on Monday. And there is a lot of stuff to talk about with CSS. Like, look at all that insane stuff that you could talk about. But it's crazy for us to try and cover it all right now. We can talk about more during the semester as it comes up. But I think that this is a good amount of stuff to give you your CSS test over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this as a study guide, this HTML page that I made, and I'm going to put it on the website so you can download it. You can open it in Dreamweaver. You can go over to the W3C Schools, click on HTML and CSS tutorials, and then click on CSS, and then just start at the beginning and go up to the pages that talk about color right here, this one right here, and kind of follow along with the tutorial here that we did, and you'll be able to master all that stuff because it's not excruciatingly difficult. You just have to practice it a little bit. Now, I'll also put up the requirements for the take-home test and when that's due, and then you guys can do all that stuff and submit it, put it in your folder, and then you'll be done with that. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you guys had a chance to look at the websites the other students did. I'm looking forward to seeing some comments that you put in the forum on the class website. And of course, we'll have some presentations to look at as well. And we'll have this whole CSS take-home test to prepare for. Okay, thanks a lot and have a great weekend.